dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong.
It's been a hell of a month, hasn't it?
It's been quite a month.
Hell month, 2020.
Hell month of a hell year. We don't want to avoid the reality that is going on around us, but this is a entertainment podcast about role-playing games. So I try not to. If you were listening, I imagine you probably don't want to hear us talk about the world ending all the time, because you can get that from anywhere, just looking out your window or your
Dire Fox News.
Yeah. Damn it. You just completely derailed me. Anyway,
okay.
But we can't ignore what's going on. But yeah, it's been a rough month, Matt. It's been probably less rough if you don't live in the United States. I know we have some European listeners. We'll be answering some of their letters.
If you live in one of those countries where you're having COVID defeated parties, in the streets, please let us know what that's like.
Must be nice to have a functioning government. So good for you if you were one of those people can meet with your group in person. I am in Oregon. Those keen-eared listeners will know where it is not a catastrophe yet, but cases are rising. Matt is in Texas, where it is a catastrophe, and cases are rising, not exponentially, but getting there. Yeah,
we're saving all the broken chairs and extra Jersey barriers to start erecting some Mad Max style barricades.
Yeah, but I'm planning whatever the opposite of a victory garden is, a defeat garden, a failure garden, so that if the supply chains break down, I have zucchinis to harvest and eat. Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, what's the name of this podcast, Matt?
Yeah, this is Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Rob.
And I'm Dungeon Master Matt. Today we're going to answer some of your letters and give you some useful advice for your tables. But first, we got to talk about the state of the game.
Yeah, we have to talk about some goings on. And we touched on this in the last two episodes, but, Wizards of the Coast put out a statement, a blog post, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago now, talking about their commitment to diversity and their plans to make the game less racist, shy away from uniquely evil races and remove the obvious Roma stereotypes from Curse of Strahd and things like that.
They gave a general statement of support for Black Lives Matter.
They made some, in my opinion, tepid commitments to hiring more diverse talent and making use of freelancers of color. I wanted to see more from them. Since then, however, some information has come to light, shared by people on the inside, freelancers who have worked with Wizards of the Coast, that really paint those statements in an unfortunate light, I suppose.
Yeah. Particularly Orion Black, who was hired a couple months ago as a freelancer for Wizards, recently tweeted out in a series of tweets that they no longer worked for Wizards, and beyond that, they were, individuals within the company were very nice. They were not treated with respect. They felt like a token or diversity hire, and they even had some of their ideas for the things they created stolen and they weren't given credit for. Yeah.
It seems
pretty much all the things people have been talking about for a long time, condensed to one particular case.
Yeah, and this lines up with what we heard from other freelancers and other creators that have worked with Wizards of the Coast. And I told Matt earlier that, frankly, the only upside is that I thought it might be worse. This seems like pretty standard, and this is not an excuse, but, corporate old boys club, just calcified structure where passively women, people of color, anybody with a marginalized identity is treated as less important, or their good ideas stolen and co-opted. And, we know from how Mike Merles has been coddled despite his obvious unfitness to work on important projects, that Wizards of the Coast is like this. But it's just frustrating to see it just right out there, especially after they tried to, align themselves with, Black Lives Matter and indicate their commitment to racial justice. Again, not surprised that they are not actually going to do anything, but it is just frustrating to see it put so succinctly.
Yeah, I think there's nothing more emblematic or fitting than a company putting out a, tepid PR, HR statement being like, we will do better. And then immediately, like a week later, the one person of color who's in a design space being like, working here sucked. It made me want to quit TTRPGs altogether.
Sometimes people will come out and criticize corporations when they put out these statements, and people will say, well, what do you want them to do? And the answer is something. I want them to do something, right? I am not impressed by, and nobody should be impressed by, statements, right? We want to see them improve the material and social conditions of the people working for them, specifically people of color and with marginalized identities. And so if they put out a PR statement designed to forestall criticism and then do nothing, that sucks, and I don't care. And so Wizards has done this. And this, Matt, this prompted I don't know, it's not like a reckoning. This is something that I've been grappling with for a long time. But, Matt, you and I give a lot of money to Wizards of the Coast. And that's because this is not meant to be a criticism of anybody. And when we level these complaints, they are just meant to draw attention to the way things are. But, D&D is essentially a monopoly on TTRPGs, or most of them.
It's a near monopoly. If it was in any other industry, right? If in the airline industry, 70% of the flights were done by one company, you would be like, oh yeah, wow, you have to fly this airline if you want to get anywhere.
Right. And we don't make any money from this podcast, but many of our listeners play Dungeons and Dragons, and they will for the foreseeable future. And I don't expect anybody to switch or change. There are real, obstacles to switching, right? It is hard to teach people a new system. It is hard to find resources for other third-party systems. It is difficult enough to get a group together. So nobody needs to feel bad about playing Dungeons & Dragons. It is just the reality that we live in, that you just kind of have to engage with it. You can't ignore it. It is the, 10,000 pound elephant in the room. So
I think this is a good point, Rob, in that there is a difference between Dungeons and Dragons and the company that currently owns Dungeons and Dragons trademark things, Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro. Dungeons and Dragons has existed before Wizards of the Coast and even before TSR, right?
Right. And, Hasbro would ferociously disagree, but D&D does not belong to Wizards or to Hasbro. And many of us love the system and love the setting, as imperfect as it is, and we can choose which parts of it to engage with. And so I think that, until we can seize the means of production at Wizards of the Coast and nationalize D&D.
Nationalize D&D.
Nationalize D&D.
By the way, I'm pretty sure they got free money from the government from the PPP shutdown.
They would be foolish not to.
So for loans under a certain amount, they didn't release the name of the businesses, but a company with the tax code for toy, game, and hobby businesses in their zip code got a large loan. So
I would be surprised if they didn't nationalize them, or at least take equity. Anyway, So I guess this is a roundabout way of saying, we are going to continue talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and Matt and I are going to continue, when necessary, purchasing their supplements so we can talk about them. What I would like to do in light of this, and this is a commitment that I'm making, is that for every $1 that I spend on a Wizards of the Coast product, I am going to spend $1 on an RPG, a supplement, a book, something by a marginalized creator. And I already do give a lot of money to these people, but it is not something I've put, a specific dollar amount on. So this is, again, Matt and I are both white cis guys. I know that we cannot be leading this conversation, but we have a lot of listeners, and we want you to know that we're trying to do our best here. So this is my promise. So first, if you are a marginalized creator and you listen to this, or you know one that you think we should be paying attention to, absolutely send us a link to your DMs Guild or Kickstarter or whatever, and we'll take a look. More generally, Matt, I think you and I want to start reviewing more third-party supplements in general, or just...
games by people who do not work at Wizards of the Coast, who do not work at PEG, who do not work at Paizo or Green Ronin, right?
And this is something we wanted to do for a long time. There are tons of great games out there, and just because I was running a game in 5th edition, running a game in Pathfinder 2nd edition, it was just I was living and breathing those, and I still will be and still am. But we totally have time and bandwidth to look at other games. So Matt and I are going to try to do more of this, just necessarily, and that's what we're going to try to do. But we just wanted to acknowledge that this is what's going on, and nobody has to feel bad about continuing to play Dungeons and Dragons. It does not belong to Wizards of the Coast. It just kind of sucks that if you want to buy any of their supplements, good or bad, you're giving money to people who kind of suck. Which, if you give money to anybody, somebody who sucks is going to get $1 out of that. But no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Exactly, Rob. I think that's a noble sentiment. Hopefully, that we have put forward, and I think we're going to do our best to feature those independent creators on the show. And if you want someone to support, there's Orion Black, right, who has written some interesting independent RPGs and no longer works at Wizards of the Coast, who you can help out.
We got the guillotine. We got the guillotine. You better run. We got the guillotine. We got the guillotine. You better run. We got the guillotine. We got the guillotine. You better run.
Rob, I put together a little timeline asking the question, how did we get here?
Ooh, I like this. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so obviously the history of Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast is much, much longer than this, but I want to start with the sort of announcement of the current edition of Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition, or as it was known then, D&D Next.
D&D Next.
We knew
failed rebrand. Absolute.
Hail the rebrand.
Just stinker. Nobody liked it. I think they really wanted to. Sorry, this is off topic. I think they really wanted to stop calling them editions, but nope, you don't get to do that, Wizards.
No,
people are going to call it. People are going to call the next one 6th edition and the next one 7th edition. You can't get away from it.
D&D Next is such a it feel like it was from a decade earlier in terms of we're going to call our sequels Mission Impossible Ghost Recon or whatever. Okay. So we knew that two of the lead designers, right, for this edition were Mike Mearls and Monty Cook. Mike worked a long time at Wizards, a lot on 4th edition. Cook had not worked at Wizards but had been one of the lead designers for 3rd edition. Monty Cook left in a huff. No one knows why. He's under an NDA as to why he left.
We have theories.
Theory is that basically he could not get along with Mike Mearls.
The scuttlebutt is that Mike Mearls is hard to work with, and the divergence of their careers since that announcement would be a very interesting character study to talk about what Monty Cook is working on and what his emphasis is and what Mike Mearls is working on now. But that's a different podcast. Yeah.
And I want to point out that everyone on the design team was a white dude, a
Right.
older white dude
Yes.
as well.
Correct me if this is wrong, but one of the people who had been involved with Dungeons and Dragons since the 90s,
Yeah.
very much so the old guard, people
Yeah.
who knew Gygax and the old timers and had, been involved with Dragon Magazine or Third Edition or any of these.
Yeah.
Not anybody with any of the younger generation of gamers, right?
However, Wizards did try and diversify their thought coming into the edition by hiring a number of outside consultants.
That's right.
However, all of these outside consultants were basically people associated with OSR type games. Now, before anyone gets mad at us, we've done episodes on how much we like OSR style games. However, two of the people Wizards hired, one Zach Smith and two the RPG Pundit,
Boo.
were basically known already by everyone as just being the most toxic assholes out there in the community.
And then I'm sure you're gonna get to this.
Yeah.
More than just assholes. Yeah.
Basically, one a serial abuser, the other a, crypto fascist.
And we reviewed the RPG Pundits RPG, right? Early on.
Oh, yes.
That this
It's
was what was it
absolute
called?
dog shit.
What was it called?
It's
Something
called
in
Lion and Dragon.
Oh,
No,
Jesus.
Rose and Dragon. Rose and
something-
Lion.
Something in that.
Dark
God, it was-
Albion, the Dragon War.
God, it was just
insufferable.
horseshit. Just such not fun
No
to
talent.
play. Just
No
absolute,
talent in the design at all. Still can't get over the Scots who just use the stats for dwarves. I can't.
Oh my God,
I can't.
So bad. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Anyway, these absolute just cretins, right?
Yes. Not good designers either, right? It isn't like they overlooked their obvious character flaws and liabilities because they were just so talented. Just not, I mean, I don't know. Nothing of note. People have argued that Zach Smith, I don't know, has something going for him, but I'm not impressed. And the RPG Pundit, just absolute dullard. Nothing to recommend making him an outside consultant. I can't believe they gave him a single dollar.
They gave these people money. They hired them as consultants. And then, they published a very successful edition of the game, right? Mm-hmm. They've since downplayed their contributions, said, oh, this was just to get a buy-in from the old school revival community, which I have to say, as much fun as Rob and I have had playing those games, this is absolute tiny segment.
No, yeah, the people, look, I think probably a disproportionate number of our listeners know what OSR is and may have played it.
Because we've taught you. We've taught you well.
But
with
let
our
us-
great interview with Andy, who has written OSR games that are not filled with hatred.
Let us be honest. This is a minority of a minority within, the RPG community. And that's not a criticism. Just let's be aware that the number of people who saw Critical Role and wanted to play D&D because of it just absolutely dwarfs anybody involved with OSR or any old school gaming supplement whatsoever. And with this in mind, sorry, Matt, I'm jumping in.
No,
But
please.
The other thing about 5th edition is that despite the contributions of Zach S. and the RPG Pundit, and also I want to point out, these are just the ones that we know about. There's a long list of contributors, none of whom are obviously terrible, but who knows? Given the other people who are included, it does draw into question the suitability of the rest of the people on that list. But anyway, 5th edition, among other things, did include, in their sort of introductory how to play an RPG or build a character, a better attitude towards gender and, gender nonconformity or race, and included in their sort of inspirational or text to draw from a greater diversity of authors. Still, again, if this is the the very low bar, right? Still inferior compared to Paizo, which is, again, if we were talking about, let us be uncharitable and call it virtue signaling. If what we're looking for is representation, Paizo is the, as far as I'm concerned, bare minimum, right? Their iconics are diverse in terms of gender representation and racial presentation, and their language is gender neutral, and they're very, very good about building a game that feels inclusive. This is, in my opinion, the very least you can do to make your game feel comfortable to a community that, if we are being honest, is extremely young and diverse and has radically different ideas about gender and race than the old school gamers who frankly make up the leadership at Wizards of the Coast and most established gaming companies. So sorry, your timeline.
Yeah, no, I think that is a good point, and thank you for adding the one note of positivity in the darkest timeline that I'm presenting to answer the question how we got here. Yes. I am going to fast forward to the recent past, right? To the last couple years after Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has become very popular and been out for a while. Again, how did we get here? So basically I don't know the exact number, but many, many women and other people came forward being like, hey, this Zach S. person who has a credit in D&D, who is on the inside in a lot of these other creator circles, is just the absolute worst person, a serial abuser, and, needs to be, kicked out of our community. It came to light then that Mike Merles, right, lead design for 5th edition D&D, had in fact been contacted by many of these women after it was publicized that Zach was working for D&D. Mike then forwarded the names and contact information.
Allegedly, please don't sue us.
Okay, yeah, allegedly forwarded this information.
Sorry, I believe that this is 100% true. I just don't want us to get sued.
Yeah, allegedly forwarded this information to the abuser himself, to Zach S. himself, who, basically made their lives more of a hellscape than they already were because of this. So, right. Again,
and so as a consequence, Merles was not fired or chastised or punished in any way. He just moved to working on the Baldur's Gate game temporarily, so that it would appear as if Wizards was doing something about this, but really it was just to hide him from public view. Exactly.
There was just this huge outroar. Mike Merles disappeared for a long time. Then we got a statement, not from official D&D, but from some of the other designers, that Mike Merles isn't working on D&D anymore. He's working on this game. However, we found out just a month ago that that's probably allegedly not true.
Somebody just dropped, oh yeah, Mike Merles is still working on D&D. Yeah, no.
So again, I just want to point out that listen, I have done terrible and inconsiderate and unthoughtful things as all humans have throughout their life.
Right.
I have never done something that has hurt people this badly as Mike Merles has, and I imagine most people have not.
Yes.
This is a serious bad thing to do.
I am a deeply imperfect person enough, I suppose, if I ever became famous enough for anybody to care. Some people would find some things that I have done that were less than great. Nothing this bad. Also, I would apologize, which right. Mike Merles has still not done. But nothing this bad, and nothing that just. This is bad. You should not forward emails from accusers to their abuser. That is a pretty obvious not good thing to do. Anyway, sorry.
It's one of those things that it's just it's so clearly a bad idea that I don't think there are any excuses for it.
Yeah.
Right? If someone comes to you and says, I am hurting, this person is the person who hurt me, you don't tell, hey, those people that have just told me that you are hurting them, I'm going to tell you that they were complaining to me. It just...
Yeah. sometimes people, by the way, sometimes people ask, like, well, what do you want? And Matt and I are both, if it's not clear, leftists and prison and police abolitionists in one degree or another. I do not want, like, Mike Merles to be clapped in irons and dragged to, like, you know, the gulag. I just think he should not be in charge at Wizards of the Coast. It would be good enough if he were just shunted to some clerical position. I do think he should lose his job, but also that is a form of punishment and a, you know, type of economic repression that is not great either, and the way that we treat working people of all sorts in this country is not great. But, like, when people ask, like, well, what do you expect? Anything, really. I expect Mike Merles to no longer be in a position of power and influence at Wizards of the Coast. If that happened, I would be satisfied. But he is, and has suffered in no way whatsoever. And when people bitch about cancel culture, I would like to see it, right? Let's see somebody who matters get canceled, because so far, nobody has been canceled. It's definitely not Mike Merles.
Yeah, let's cancel Mike Merles. It sounds like fun, honestly.
Yes, he should be canceled. Cancel Mike Merles.
He will.
Hashtag cancel Mike Merles.
I think there's a hashtag fire Mike Merles, but again, so we got a bait and switch with this, right? Lots of people really thought he was maybe fired, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out it's complete bullshit. There's a couple other things I wanted to mention, right, that have happened in the recent past. Like a couple, so D&D in response to this did remove Zach S. and the RPG Pundit's name from the consultant list of new printings, but I think they did so by removing all the consultants.
I haven't checked, so I don't know. Yeah, that'd be funny though.
Which is just kind of like, oh, we're too cowardly to specifically call out the toxic people. RPG Pundit and Zach S. lost basically a lot of his partnerships and other things that he was working on. People like said, we're not going to sell these products that he worked on. RPG Pundit still has hundreds of titles on the Dungeon Masters Guild. And this is after continuing to call for violence against a lot of marginalized people, calling Black Lives Matter like godless thugs and stuff. Just full fascism these days. Then Wizards of the Coast hired and this is, I'm getting to the year 2020 now. Wizards of the Coast hired a freelancer, Ryan Black, a person of color, a non-binary creator, right, to diversify. And then, of course, we already talked about how they treated them like shit. Then, in the middle of this, they put out their lazy, weak PR statement. And then, in the last couple of weeks, to get us caught up, Wizards of the Coast, as a business, which includes, Magic the Gathering, has done a couple of other things. There has been a huge call for Wizards of the Coast Magic the Gathering lead story designer Nick Kelman, who has written the weirdest novel of all time. It's like and I don't know if I have the ability to get into this.
I have not read it, but I did read about it. It's called what? Girls?
Girls a Paean.
And it's a pedophile book. It's a weird pervert pedophile book written when this man was at least in his 30s. And I want to point out that this is the lead narrative designer of Magic the Gathering. And as far as I can tell, he has written one weird pervert book and a handful of short stories.
And a graphic novel, maybe.
A graphic novel. And that's it. And I can't really figure out like what his credentials are, but apparently this is enough to end up as lead narrative designer for Magic the Gathering. Yeah. So
we were asking just like, whose nephew is he?
Exactly. Like who does he know? I don't know.
I can't imagine like Hasbro or anyone being like, well, we need a lead story designer for our fantasy epic card game. How about you? Your one novel is a bunch of short stories about pedophilia. And
it was written 17 years ago. And then Matt and I have more like experience than this guy does. Like most of you do. Like, if any of you have written anything and put it on DM's Guild, you are more qualified than whoever this guy is to... Because this isn't even like a fantasy book. It's just like a weird pervert graphic novel. Or not graphic novel, just like... I don't understand. Anyway, if you ever thought the world was fair, I just want to... There's one thing you take away from this, is that the world's not fair. It's not fair everywhere. Even in our tiny space where nobody makes any money writing RPGs, the only people who get to make money are weird white guys who happen to know the right person in Seattle.
It's like, he's sold this pedophile book and, like, screenplays to Steven Spielberg. It's like, how? Anyway, you know who Wizards of the Coast Magic the Gathering did fire is Elizabeth Eden, who had a couple of freelance content creator jobs. She posted a like photo as of her, in sort of a pinup position for a fake Magic card, and Wizards pulled Magic the Gathering is a family game, which has art of basically sexy ladies on like at least 5% of its cards.
And demons.
And demons.
Right. Satanic images. I mean, which are awesome and rad, and they should not get rid of, but like, come on.
But one, queer creator posts one pinup joke card and they're out of the program.
They're out. Can't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, our lead designer wrote a whole book about pedophilia,
You must
and
be
he's
sexy
still in charge.
and in the right context, right? You can be horny, but only in the approved way, right? Only within the narrow bounds of appearing on officially licensed Magic the Gathering cards.
Speaking of approved horniness, Rob, another thing that happened in the last couple weeks, Oliver Clegg, who is a third-party DM's Guild and RPG designer, had a book that had a lot of tongue-in-cheek gay and queer horniness and art in the book. The Dungeon Masters Guild, which again is a different company than Wizards but has a partnership with them, pulled his content for being too horny. Now, Rob, I can see your brows are furrowed because you've seen mini art, officially approved Wizards art for the DMG, and there's dozens of DMG titles that are like erotic fantasy or sexy demon ladies. I mean, there's Wizards provided art that is, but if that art is gay now, you're crossing a line.
Right. It can be gay, but not too gay, right? You can have our beautiful gay Greek dads touching each other, but only touching above the clothes.
Right. If they wear a harness of any kind, we are banning that product.
However, if
gay.
If your demon wears a harness, which many of them do, the Arianese art in every D&D book going back to the 90s has the Furies
full
barely clothed in, or the succubi in a harness, an absolute BDSM outfit. But that's okay, they're demons. This is dumb. I didn't know about this. Fucking stupid.
So approved horniness, right?
Ugh.
And this is also, remember, our, creators we love in, like, Eat the Rich, like, had to modify their language for the DM's Guild because it was too anti-capitalist in it. The DM's Guild, I mean, I don't want to, I'm sure there are nice people working there, and it seems like the people who work in their PR are trying to do their best, but this sucks, right?
It sucks. And the thing is, there's no other choice or not really any other choice for third-party creators unless you have a Patreon or just doing it yourself.
I mean, the model of it just sucks. They take 50% of your money.
No, Matt and I have made a little bit of money on DM's Guild, and it blows because they took half of it, right? But the thing is, we would
basically
not have
made enough money to buy a bunch of other third-party and drive-through RPG supplements.
And drive-through RPG is no better. The thing is, this is the only place to distribute your games in any meaningful way
at the moment.
And again, it sucks because it's work and it's hard, and we don't have any power, and so we have to rely on these platforms and systems, but it's bad. Oh, Matt, I don't know if this is on your timeline, but I forgot all about this until we were talking about it.
Let's see. I got two more things, but yeah, shoot. Let's see if it's
go
there.
ahead and do it.
So many other prominent Magic the Gathering members of the community, like Zayam Beg out of Channel Fireball, have also spoken out about their experiences as a person of color in the creator Magic the Gathering space. And basically, it's all hell world. And then this week, Wizards of the Coast added to their Oriental Adventures supplement.
This was my
which
thing.
is okay. That's what I figured. Basically, a disclaimer, which was basically it's Your Honor, we're using the Looney Tunes defense. Here's a disclaimer, being like, here's a something that's racist, but it shows the attitudes of people about race during that time. It's like,
Which is what, the 90s?
the 80s and 90s? What?
When did
Like when I was a kid?
When did
This is an artifact from the 1700s when MacArthur's embassy went to the Qinglong emperor, right?
when did the Big Lebowski come out? Right, we've known that that's not the preferred nomenclature for quite some time now.
Dude,
it's not the I'm pretty sure that we knew that it was not good to call them Orientals for quite some time now. Like, just pull it, or delist it at least. Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. I was not aware that you could go and purchase Oriental Adventures anywhere.
You can basically purchase on the DM's Guild any old Dungeons and Dragons product from basically their entire back catalog. And so that includes Oriental Adventures.
I assumed like you could go find it at like a game store or like on eBay or whatever. I was not aware that there was anywhere you could purchase and the money would go to anybody but somebody who had like it sitting in their garage. So Wizards does not need the money from this. They could just delist it. The Looney Tunes defense does not. It was bad when it came out. It was racist when it came out, right? It was not like we didn't know better when they published Oriental Adventures. Sorry fans, it sucked and was bad.
Yeah. Now, not to say that there haven't been people who have, subverted those tropes and things like that at maybe your own game or something like that. Again, Rob and I are not the people to talk about this. One of our listeners, Drew, rose in with the suggestion and said that they highly recommend the podcast Asians Represents and one of its hosts, Daniel Kwan. So we'll put a link there, as a better person to listen to about this thing. But I have to point out that if you're one of the people who has said, regular D&T is just a bunch of European stereotypes about this person, your brain is made of pudding.
Yes, no, that's pudding. That's pudding.
There's
brain
a thing
stuff.
called historical power differentials.
Yes.
Read Orientalism by Edward Said. Read any book of history. Honestly,
just read literally read the Wikipedia for Orientalism, and you will have you will understand why that's
Jesus
dumb and
Christ.
bad. But please read the book, but also just literally read anything. It is not possible for a European stereotype to matter, if that were even true, right? Like, also, what fucking European stereotypes are we even talking about, right?
The people who do this have never named a specific thing that's harmful, right? Oh,
Dumb.
The stereotype of paladins. It's not exactly like Charlemagne's historic paladins. Like, how is this a bad thing that hurts anyone today?
Listen, Child Roland would be delighted to hear that he was so well represented in the 21st century.
Anyway, so I'm sure there's many things that I have missed, but God, I think that catches us up to the how we fucking got here, at least in the recent past, right? And I think putting Wizards' statement in that context of the history of the last decade or so, I think hopefully proves the point that we said more casually a couple weeks ago, that this is weak tea and doesn't really do anything.
Right. At every point when Wizards was given a chance to do even the bare minimum, right, to do the right thing. They chose not to. And in many cases did the opposite. So when we talk about, why this is inadequate, that is what we mean.
Okay, well, that was nightmarish. Rob, do you want to get to some letters?
Let's get to some letters. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody.
Yeah.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime.
Hey, so this is the mailbag portion of the show. Before we get into it, if you would like to send us your one-page RPG for our Dungeon Master of None, Matt and Rob present the one-page RPG Expo, please send that to us by Sunday, July 12th. We've got a bunch of great submissions. Rob and I also have a submission. We're going to see how much fun we can have with the one-page RPG space. I also am including a link in the show to another fun thing on, if you're listening to this on time, happening Sunday, July 12th on 2020, which is a free virtual performance of Qui Wins She Kills Monsters, a critically acclaimed play that is about Dungeons and Dragons and being gay in high school. And I think we need more plays about Dungeons and Dragons. It does the very thing, Rob, that our wonderful guest Katie suggested that a good Dungeons and Dragons movie would do, which it switches between real life and then the actors then playing their character in a game of Dungeons and Dragons.
I have heard really good things about this, so check it out if you have a chance.
Yeah, link is below. It's pay what you want, but so that means it can be free if you don't have any money to watch it. This Sunday. You don't have to pay for any of your seat, and you'll only need the edge because it's a virtual performance. No one will tell you where to sit.
Letters. What do we got first, Matt?
Hey, here's we've got a huge backlog, but here's a recent letter that I wanted to bump to the front. Hey guys, I have a table etiquette homebrew evaluation question. I've been DMing at a table for about a year, but now I'm taking a break to let another player DM his first campaign. I'm super excited to make a character and play again, so I was the first to knock out a character using your advanced artificer homebrew. Cool.
Thank you. I'm glad you got use out of it, yeah.
Yes. I checked with the DM beforehand about homebrews, and everything was good. Then... oh, this is exciting, Rob. We have some homebrew escalation. Then, another player asked and was given permission to use a ninja homebrew that I worry hasn't been play tested very well and might be a bit broken. I found an alternative to this broken homebrew on the DM's Guild, but I want to approach this player with this alternative, but I'm worried about a few things. This more balanced alternative. Since I'm using a homebrew, I don't want to come off as wanting the most powerful character. Secondly, I don't want to insult them by offering advice on their chosen homebrew they didn't ask for. At the same time, I don't want my character to be overshadowed by this unbalanced ninja class. Am I overreacting and need to just let it go? Is there a tactful way to approach this? Thanks, Sam.
Ooh, this is you have
this homebrew.
This is a minefield. So
yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's many social relationships to be aware of.
Before I even looked, when I heard that it was a homebrew ninja, I was like, oh no, we're in dangerous territory here.
Rob, all I had to look at was that the homebrew had put in a art from Ninja Gaiden, that video game from a long time ago, and I knew I was like, oh, this is going to be overpowered. For listeners, this homebrew ninja class, there's no question that it's overpowered. They get 2 pools of cool things to use. They have the sneak attack of a rogue, the extra attack abilities of a fighter, the fighting styles of a fighter. It's basically as powerful as a Gestalt fighter rogue. Anyone can recognize this as overpowered.
So
But
here's the problem, Sam.
what should Sam do?
So Sam, this is not your fault, but
But you started this. You
did.
built the first nuke.
you
Even
You-
if your
you-
nuke isn't overpowered and will only be used for good, buy
And-
the Advanced
and-
Artificer on DM's Guild. Or don't, because they're a terrible company. We don't care.
and what's
Email me
unfortunate-
and I will send you a copy if you don't want to give them money.
We should have mentioned this earlier. If anybody doesn't want to give DM's Guild money and see something they like of ours, just email us and we'll just send it to you.
I mean, we made our adventures free because, fuck them.
Yeah. Sam, this is not your fault, and you had no way of knowing it was going to happen, but you have now backed yourself into a corner. You are now engaged in a mutually assured homebrew destruction, and the only way, frankly, for you to get yourself out of this is to multilaterally disarm. So you could go to the DM and say, hey, here are some mathematical and objective reasons why this ninja homebrew is overpowered. But if the DM...
the first being, basically, there's like 3 classes and subclasses already in the game meant to represent everything that a classic ninja of fantasy should be do, right? The Way of Shadow Monk, the Assassin Rogue, like those are all you would need for a ninja character.
Yeah. So you could go to your DM and you could say, hey, or you could go to the whole group and you could say, hey, here are some objectively true reasons why this is not a good class. And even if your DM accepted that and told the other player, hey, sorry, this ninja isn't going to work, you will come off, for the most part, as petty and whatever, and you will create dissatisfaction and resentment. So
I feel you so much because
Yes.
I'm reacting the exact same way you're reacting in this situation.
Sam, you did, to be clear, you did nothing wrong. And you will be vindicated by history. But
Yes.
unfortunately, I think the only way to get out of this without hurt feelings is for you to say, hey, I feel like this is kind of overpowered. I'm sorry. I started this. Let me create a class that is not a homebrew, because I think this is going to be more fun for everybody if other player and I don't bring in classes that have not been playtested.
Yeah.
This may not work, but I share your concerns, and I think that if you want to avoid being overpowered and overshadowed by special snowflake ninja guy, the only way is just like come to the table and say, hey, sorry, I rethought this. Could we just like have a no homebrew setting for now?
Now, that requires some action, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps you should, take some advice from Toph Beifong or something. I can't remember the correct character from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and cultivate your neutral Jin, right? By doing nothing.
Yes.
Because my guess is that this class is so overpowered that if your game involves any character who is a rogue or a fighter, that they will be the one to complain after a first couple sessions, to be like, hey, so-and-so's ninja does everything my character does, but better.
Yeah.
Now, and then your dungeon master can be like, well, I don't know what to do. And then you can be like, well, if you're asking the group for a suggestion, the Way of the Monk, Way of Shadow Monk class or the Assassin Rogue does all the things that this person wants out of a character, but in a less overpowered way. Or here's this other homebrew I found that's less overpowered. Maybe person who's playing the ninja could remake their character, right? And then you wait for someone else to make the first move. You will have to put up with someone in your party having an overpowered character for the first couple sessions, which,
Yeah, you can always approach this as Sun Tzu Art of War style and wait for your opponent to make the first mistake.
Wait for your enemy, who is your friend and fellow player, to make the first mistake.
But no, I think these are both viable strategies. Matt is right that if you wait long enough, it should be obvious to everyone else at the table that this class is bonkers. But
yeah. It's so bonkers.
That is a risk. That is
asked for us a better example of a bonkers homebrew. It's like, I have all the powers to have all the powers.
But in actual, because if
I'm sorry, I forgot it has the most powerful feature of the rogue class, sneak attack. The second most powerful feature of the fighter class, fighting style and extra attack. And it has the most powerful feature of the monk class, which is it has key points. I forgot it's 3 classes abilities. It's so good. Actually, I want to run a game where everyone just plays this overpowered.
Well, that's a little bit
ninja
like
class.
your levelers, but that's the whole point. Is that everybody
that's the whole
has the thing. That would be another funny thing to do, Sam. Is if you really wanted to like do this, is just like make your own ninja, and then also encourage everybody else to make a ninja. Anyway, but no, I feel sorry for you. I apologize that your enthusiasm for trying out our what we hope is balanced homebrew class.
I've done, enough playtest one-shots. We're pretty confident this is balanced.
If anything, we were careful to sell it. Anyway, so Sam, let us know if that works. I have a feeling that one way or another, the player with the ninja is not going to be able to keep that up for a long time, but let us know what happens.
Great letter. Thanks, Sam.
All right, so we've got another one from Raphael. Raphael writes, "Hello, guys. I'm DMing for what I consider a big group, 6 to 7 players besides me, that is a big group, for a few years, and a recurrent problem that I have is the combat and counter planning. Since we are moving from an in-person to a Roll20 table, I'm concerned about the place of the game during combats. The 5e combat balance, in my perception, always tends to the side with more bodies to hit. It's always hard to manage a mob of enemies, and I don't know how to properly get around this matter properly since big bosses historically got ripped to pieces by my group of fierce murder hobos. Thanks for the awesome job. Stay safe in these troubled times and keep rolling the dice. Regards from a Brazilian DM player and listener. Peace, Raphael."
Raphael, obrigado for this email.
You are correct, Raphael. And we've talked about this before, and I think we've given a little bit of advice on this, and I know this is an older letter, so maybe you have figured this out by now, but it's worth revisiting.
Yeah.
Because I think now that a lot of people have settled into socially distant gaming and are using Roll20, this is something that's probably come up a lot. And it is a challenge. 5th edition, especially in large combats, can be a drag. It can really slow things down. And so
you have a couple things in your toolbox to
Right.
fix this, though. So let's see if we can get maybe a comprehensive list
Right.
of ways to avoid this.
So here's my, I'm going to call it a 3-step plan, because any more than that
Okay.
is challenging. 1, more enemies with fewer hit points is step 1. So that means more lieutenants and more minions, fewer big bosses. You are probably going to want to get away from any sort of big bad guy encounter, even with lair actions and legendary actions, as much as possible, because you're right that 6 to 7 players are going to chew one of these up and spit them out, even under the best of circumstances.
It's a big group, and if they have at all competently made characters that are focused on combat, they will succeed.
Step 2, chunk initiative. That means that all of your lieutenants, all of your minions go on the same initiative. This will save you time and energy. Also, maybe don't bother with letting them use too many actions. Have them all make the same attack, and use, even if they have multiple abilities, just they all attack one or, a different character. Just keep it simple, right?
Right. There's a little bit of prep that you can do before a combat to kind of make this easy. It's like, all right, all of this group of, bandits, they all have short swords. They all make a short sword attack. There's 4 of them.
Yep.
These groups, they all have short bows. They all make the short bow attack. My warlock bandit chieftain, once per combat, they will cast this area of effect spell. The rest of the time, they will shoot 2 eldritch blasts. Boom.
And step 3, look, you've got 6 to 7 players. They have plenty of time to figure out what they're going to do before their turn comes up. Give them 30 seconds, enforce it ruthlessly. If you follow, in my opinion, these 3 steps, your combats will be dynamic, interesting, and manageable. There's only so much you can do to get around the drag and time commitment, but I would say reduce your hit points, and this all requires a little bit
I think
of prep.
hit points are too high in 5th edition. It drags things out after it's clear that one side has won.
You reduce your hit points just generally by 2/3 or a half. Yeah.
I don't fudge on rolls, and I usually don't fudge on hit points. Like when I'm playing on Roll20, I have the hit point bar visible to players because I think it makes it more fun. They see that, yes, that I did 9 hit points actually matters. However, occasionally, right, I will fudge a hit points always in the favor of the players to be like, all right, this combat's done.
Yeah, so the thing is, you're always going to have, there's always going to be an issue, but combat will always be long, but it can be more interesting if you keep it moving. And the way to do this is on your end, be ready, move quickly, chunk your initiative, and then train your players to act quickly. And the thing is, I have players who are big time planners, and don't let them. Just say, look, you've got 30 seconds. This is a combat. It's happening in real time. Go, 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 go. And they may be frustrated.
They will get
at
their
first.
fun planning kicks out of the rest of the game. Because that's what the rest of the game is often about. Don't let them plan in combat.
And they may be frustrated, but they will learn to like it. And they will learn to enjoy making decisions, under the clock. And they still have everyone else's turn to think about what they're going to do. And I think this is good for everybody involved. I think this is good life practice, is making decisions under pressure. It's also just a game. So it
also,
can be
if
hard.
you're doing Roll20, a quick tip, shout out to the Beyond 20 virtual tabletop, which will let you click on any monster and its action and automatically transfer the roll to the tabletop. Oh, you weren't expecting this Vrock to make a charisma save? Just click on charisma on the, you have to use D&D Beyond, but boom, there's the roll goes straight to Roll20. That will save you time.
Raphael, I hope that's helpful. Let us know how your game is going, and thank you for writing. And I hope you're staying safe, and good luck with your very large game.
All right, here's our next message from the Dungeon Master Hotline, 774-203-4629. Here it is.
Hey, Matt and Rob. This is Matt from North Carolina. I have just undergone a binge of the last 5 or 6 episodes, and on your latest one, I just heard the soundtrack or the song Sugar Man. So I just wanted to stop the podcast, give you a shout out for I just watched that the documentary a few weeks ago. It was very good, and it's good to hear Rodriguez getting some more love. All right, thanks guys. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Okay,
Matt, we also love, or at least I also loved the documentary Searching for Sugar Man.
I have not seen it, but now that I'm aware of it, I'm gonna check it out. Sounds great. Thanks for the tip.
Actually, Rob, this leaves me there's been a lot of negativity in this episode that is, of course, things that we need to think and discuss about. But it reminds me of something really positive. Speaking of documentaries, I've been watching a lot of Netflix's Home Game. Have you seen these documentaries?
No.
Okay, they're short documentaries about sports and competition from around the world that are often local and not played for big money, like the crazy rugby sports in Florence.
I have heard of this.
Rollerball in Austin, buffalo racing on Bali. It's what my point of this is, it was so heartening to watch people playing games, right? Which is what our podcast is about too, in a way that is not completely totalized, and the space is not completely colonized by network TV and monopolist capitalist industry, right? People have created spaces in which there are still incredible challenges and struggles to work through, like fighting for gender equality in these spaces. But it is nice to see, hey, this is what play can be when it is not subsumed by capitalism.
It is wonderful. I heard about these, and I wanted to watch them for the same reason, but it is wonderful to be reminded, right, that play is both natural and delightful and something that humans always have enjoyed, and it does not need to be subsumed to or even a part of the greater capitalist system for it to be valuable and meaningful, right? which is, again, a big part of what we do and what we advocate for.
There is the people who play rollerball in Austin, Texas, right? Not rollerball. That's the terrible 1970s movie in which Houston is now Energy City. Can't imagine a dark future like that. Roller derby in Austin, Texas, right? And they play for the joy of competition and sport and self-expression. And, that is why we play role-playing games, for the joy of competition, fellowship, and self-expression, right? And nationalize Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons & Dragons.
And all
Return
sports.
it to the people who created it.
All sports. Nationalize the
sports.
NFL. Nationalize the MLB. Ownership of all sports by all people. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
We wish you a happy dream of a democratic role-playing game space.
That's right. Someday.
Someday.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We'll be back soon with more letters and one-shot RPGs and
Some indie games.
of indie games. Yeah, thanks for listening, and keep rolling them dice.
The mayor hides the crime rate, councilwoman hesitates, public gets irate, but forgets the vote date. Weatherman complaining, predicted sun it's raining, everyone's protesting, boyfriend keeps adjusting, you're not like all of the rest. Garbage ain't collected, women ain't protected, politicians using people they're abusing, the mafia's getting bigger, like pollution in the river, and you tell me that this is where it's at. Woke out this morning with an ache in my head, I splashed on my clothes as I spilled out of bed, I opened the window to listen to the news, but all I heard was the establishment's blues.